can't be everywhere at once, so you just do your best. But it's being at the forefront, that top of mind awareness, and they just keep calling you because they know they can rely and trust on you.
Literally, the house is on fire, flames ripping up out of the sky. The alarm's not going off. He's on the phone with the alarm company telling him he wants to cancel the service because there's a fire and they don't know about it. And they're arguing. Have you heard this story? They're arguing with him, telling him, well, our systems show everything's okay. And he's like, well, that's cool because there's 30 feet of flame coming out of my attic.
There's a lot of things in life and you're always trying to decide, but I felt like I did need to give back to the community, and that was a way to give back.
That's why it's the ADHD and with the D. This is one of those things like, you have bad ADHD when you're jumping online to order some cool lights.
Yeah.
And you're, oh yeah, this is going to be ADHD. It's going to be so rad. I only ordered one D.
Oh, really?
So it showed up. I was so mad. ADHD. I was so mad. And I was like, they screwed up my order. And I go look on there and I was like, I only ordered one.
A lot of times people think that you're going to an event. That's the event. That's what's going to get you the business and so forth. It's not. If you think it is, you're missing the point. It's because you're networking while you're there. You're getting the contacts, but you're following up on some specific need that they have.
Welcome back to another episode of the ADHD Express podcast, you guys. I'm really excited. I've got a great friend of mine, really wonderful man. We got Bart Cayley in the house with us. He is representing Alpine Cleaning and Restoration. You guys, this dude has made one heck of a life for himself, working for somebody else without the stresses of running your own business. And I wanted him to share how he's done it. So I hope you guys enjoy this episode. And dude, I know I did. Okay, there we go. That is the official kickoff of the ADHD Express podcast. Bart, we just don't tell anybody we're going to do that, and that is how there's a big audio spike, and it helps us line up everybody's video.
Sweet.
Kind of a neat little hack that we do. Well, everybody, thank you. I am Brian Carlson, your host. Welcome to the ADHD Express podcast. Today, we've got a great show planned for you. I've got another one of my dear friends, Bart Cayley, joining us. Bart, if you want to say hi for a sec.
Yeah. How's everybody doing? Hope everybody's having a great day.
Awesome. And then as usual, I've got Joe.
Hey, yo.
And we've got his brother Daniel, as always, helping us join, give commentary. Grateful for you guys always being here, helping us keep this thing running. And Tommy Cam.
Tommy Cams.
About as lively as it gets. Oh, he's going to go say hi to everybody.
Oh,
cool. Well, cool. So Bart, normally we get all these people with ADHD and we talk about this stuff, and your life and the reason I wanted you on here is kind of different, man. So I respect you a lot. You know that. We've known each other. We actually have been together once a week for almost 10 years.
That's true.
I mean, that's one of those things you get to know. Some of these people that I talk about BNI all the time, Bart and I met in a BNI chapter.
Oh, really?
And then after a decade of doing business together, it's like, we're like, hey, I like this dude. So Bart, you're and I forgot to wear the hat. I'm so sorry.
Oh, you're totally good.
I actually was going to wear the hat. So Bart would you say you're number 2 in command?
No, I'm an executive over there.
Okay.
But I've been there for 16 years. It's Alpine Cleaning and Restoration. So disaster restoration.
Yep.
But I love it because every day is different.
Every day is different.
Every day is different.
Yeah. Now you kind of have the dream gig there. You're one of their outsourcers. You find people to give you business to.
Yes. So director of business development, and then I have a sales team with me as well.
Yeah.
Our thing is to make the phone ring and to have jobs come in.
So you guys, when Bart invites me, hey, we're going to go and do some work here today, that involves going golfing with like 37 executives from insurance companies or side by signing with a whole 37 different executives from different insurance companies.
True.
For days at a time. And it's really cool. Or fishing or snowmobile. I'm trying to think of all the different stuff that I've done with you.
I've done a lot of different stuff, but if I can mix work and play, I love to do it. Like the best thing I've ever found is everybody loves to golf in the insurance world, and it's great. And you get, depending you're doing 9 or 18 holes, you can get 4 hours of talk time. Like it's great. You can get to know somebody in that. I like to go and do things that are more memorable. And so you go create an experience, something they don't get to do every day. And then you build a relationship through that. And they know that, hey, I can trust this guy. I can give him a call. He's going to help us out. And I like to think of myself as more of a resource to people.
Sure.
So they just know that, hey, I don't know what to do on this, but I'll give Bart a call. He may not know what to do either, but he's going to know somebody who knows.
He's going to figure it out.
So that right there, you guys, like I hate to be cliche about this, but that's what I like to call the power of BNI. So Bart kind of exemplified that before BNI. That's just your way of doing business, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, correct.
So that is it, you guys. Bart will feed your business without asking for anything in return. You go to Bart and you're just like, hey man, I got this situation. He's like, you know what? I know a guy. Let's see if he can help you out. right? He didn't ask for compensation. He didn't ask for anything. Now, in the long run, what happens? You're like, oh, my basement just flooded. Are you going to call anybody other than Bart? No, of course you're not. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, you're just like, your friends, something happened to your friend's house. Oh, dude, I got a guy. He's like the most stand-up, wonderful guy you could possibly ever. So like, and I know, sorry, your face is getting red. I'm so sorry.
That's all right.
Bart, I hold you up on a bit of a pedestal, brother. I really do, man. I love you a lot. 10 years of hanging out. Like, I think I know who you are. I think I know the character or the fiber of your character. And God, man, I wish I had some of it.
Oh, well,
So,
thank
yeah.
you. You're building me up too much. Let's go to a tear down.
Let's talk about this and like Bart catching bucket loads of fish this one time. This one time. You know what? Yeah, no, it's always been good. It's always been good. So yeah, man, like kind of some of that thing I want you to talk about. I guess some of the things that you do to keep yourself happy.
Yeah.
I think you already said is you like to have fun.
I like to mix work and play. And so I know it probably drives my wife nuts. Well, I don't probably know. I know.
Yeah.
I have way too many hobbies, and occasionally I'll try to throw more in there, and
Yep.
she's just like, no, it ain't happening.
You get a mutiny from the
Yeah.
commander.
I've already got too many, and so I try to get out constantly. Last week alone, I was out fly fishing twice. And that was work related. So I went with a group of companies. So Alpine's owned by a larger conglomerate. And so each one of their companies has a director of marketing, and then we take out and cross market to different executives and stuff as well for different companies. And so we took them out on the upper green fly fishing with a guide, and then turned around and went back out on Friday. My son had school off, so I took my boy out. The water would be great. Took my son out and took a fire chief out because we do work with different. And on the Friday, I actually brought my own drift boat. Didn't use a guide, and we just went out on our own and caught a bunch.
Was that at a little hole?
This down below Fontenelle on the green. So we're up above Kimmer, Wyoming.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So and then we've got trips planned this summer. It works out really well. The one of the president of RBM, it's a janitorial company. His name's Randy Kroll, but he loves the same things I do as far as outdoor fishing, snowmobiling, things like that. And so we often team up together. And so we've probably got 6 trips planned just for fly fishing. I've probably got another 4 trips planned.
Well, so for next year, we need to make sure that we're on your list because now you can take them snow biking with a pro.
Oh, there we go.
So we got 10 bikes. We got 10
really?
bikes for rentals. We got a brand new nice trailer. We got all the suits, the boots, the helmets, the goggles, gloves, everything you could possibly need.
Awesome.
Avalanche bags, and we can take people out. We can accommodate them with lodging.
Sweet. Yeah.
So yeah, man. Like I kind of was just thinking about that. We need to make sure that you guys know that that's
Never done a snow biking trip, so like if we could do it that way, it would be
to
fun.
the list.
Take some people. I've already got one individual. As soon as he said it in mind, that I know just started up this last year. Rents one every single time, but he owns a property management company we do work with. So
cool. Yeah. So now he can go out with the pro, and like it makes a difference, man. So we got to go. Well, I guess you kind of were there, but you were running tech. But Daniel and I got to go out with Brock. And do some snow biking and his kids, and like, it's the difference of going out with the pro is huge because like you go out with a bunch of dudes and we're all like, yeah, well maybe if you lean here it'll work better or whatever, and like, no, he's a pro, dude.
Yeah.
Like, we watched him and even his kids hit these little jumps and like wipe out and then like cut, oh, we're gonna go and do this and then go back and these kids are like just sailing. I mean, it's amazing to watch what a little bit of coaching does.
Yep. That's huge.
And so anyways, that's just kind of a fun side of that. That's the Brockstar Adventures, you guys, for everybody who's been following the podcast, like a whole nother business. And yeah, go check it out as well. It's super fun, but that's not what we're here talking.
Totally get.
Yeah, that's where it's the ADHD and with the D. You didn't hear about that. So this is one of those things like, you have bad ADHD when you're jumping online to order some cool lights.
Yeah.
And you're, oh yeah, this is going to be ADHD. It's going to be so rad. I only ordered 1D.
Oh, really?
So it showed up. I was so mad. I was so mad, and I was like, "They screwed up my order." And I go look on there, and I was like, I only ordered one."
We made sure to highlight the one.
Yeah, well, that's why the one that's different colors. That's the one that I got the second time through. It's just like funny. It's just like, yep, that's pretty much what it's like.
That's awesome.
So, well, that's awesome, man. So let's talk about some stuff that you've used to be successful, man. Because like I said, you kind of got the happiness thing down. Like, are you a big reader at all?
I used to be, but time-wise, I just find myself busy all the time. So I do more of Audible, and I travel a lot. He saw me early. Sometime I come down to make sure I'm going to be in my appointment early. I sit in the church parking lot, and I'm all that I'll be on the executive meeting. And so,
Yep.
but like to me, I'm on the road, got an hour and a half drive.
Okay.
So I can hop on and listen to different podcasts, a different Audible book, a coaching session with Dr. Taylor Hartman does
Okay,
the
you mentioned
people
that, yeah.
code, color code. And we're doing it again.
Oh,
And so
okay.
we're going through it again, all the executives talking about it and going through our company and seeing where we can be better. So it's pretty cool.
I love that.
Yeah.
What's your favorite?
Favorite sales book? I don't know if I would have a total favorite. I don't know. You think of any of them, Made to Stick, People Connectors. I would. I don't say one would stand out more than. The thing is, I like anything that's real and where you actually connect with people, and that's what I like to do. Sometimes going through a book, people have a lot of knowledge and they spout a lot of it, but when it comes down to it, the brass tacks, it's being genuine to
Yeah.
people. So
Actually, can I have you talk a little bit about, so as we've done a lot of the marketing thing, I used to run right into it. Hey, I'm Brian, the home inspector, blah, 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 right?
Yeah.
So like, let's talk about that. Like, so for all you people who are watching this, right? Like we know you want your business to get out there, but sometimes you just don't want to be sold.
Yeah.
Right. So why don't we talk about that a little bit? That's kind of a great principle that you have used, kind of taught me.
Well, I would say first and foremost, don't be looking for the dollar signs. Just get to know people, be genuine about it, and like you said, being a resource. Um, I found a lot of times in my connecting, never started out with a job. It started out helping a friend out. I mean, I've got. It's funny we did a speed dating thing with Building Owners Management Association type thing, and one of the guys who we've done a lot of business with over the years, uh, we had our competitors going through there as well, and he said, he's like, I could tell they wanted to party and get me out and go to all these things. And he's like, I've got my guy. And they're like, well, what can we do to, switch it up and have you use him? And he's like, he's my guy. Like, I want to switch. Like, he's like, what if he never answers? He's like, he always answers his phone. Like, and I'm like, I can to take care of me. And so like, it was awesome to hear that from him afterwards. But he's like, you're genuinely my friend first and foremost. But he's like, I know I can count on you. I mean, we've done everything from elk hunting to turkey hunting to fishing to, I mean, he's come up, I've worked on his boat for him and stuff like that. Just things to help people out. So,
Yeah. Kind of awesome way to live. Really.
It's the most valuable thing we can do, honestly. In everything interaction, if you're going into the interaction with the intent to help, it always ends up being way parties instead of just the one.
And there's aspects of my job that are super hard. Like some of them, like we go to fires, and so we're there to board up immediately after a fire. But it's somebody who's been through the most devastating experience, most likely in their life. I mean, I've seen people just on the, and yet you want to help them, but yet timing's critical on all of that. So there's times where you can't approach somebody, or they're actually in shock, and you can't help them at the moment. But you need to be there for when they're ready to help rebuild their lives and let them know things are going to be okay. But it's pretty interesting because you get to meet a lot of people, and even through that, the people we've done fires for that are super grateful. Brett Bullock's one I think of all the time, but
friend of ours,
had a dream house that they built and caught fire. Was up in their attic, and it was quite some time to rebuild it and to go through all their personal belongings. So.
He had this alarm system that he was fire alarm system. And so literally the house is on fire, flames ripping up out of the sky. The alarm's not going off. He's on the phone with the alarm company telling him he wants to cancel the service because there's a fire and they don't know about it. And they're arguing. Have you heard this story? And they're arguing with him, telling him, well, systems show everything's okay. And he's like, well, that's cool because there's 30 feet of flame coming out of my attic. In fact, you can hear the fire department coming down the road.
Oh, no.
It was one of those just kind of, yeah. And I'll have Brett on here. Brett's awesome. We've talked accident policies, right? George one time in a podcast a long time ago, back in January. And so, yeah, we'll get Brett in here.
Cool.
He's a good.
Yeah.
So some of this is also as we kind of go like help people, like, we talk about being able to change. If you're not happy with what you're doing, being able to change it, right? But some of the people, it's so hard, so like debilitatingly hard. And so as we are kind of doing that, like I have a very well established business that I'm trying to change, right? And so this is kind of a little bit of a vlog as we build this business. And so part of this is again, I hope that people who are trying out or people who are stuck are going to watch this podcast and say and gain something, right? Some leverage. We just had a whole lot of conversation over 14 minutes about sales tactic. Don't be the cold pusher guy. Trying to get the close, right? Establish a relationship.
Yeah. One of the other I'd say that's been critical for me in my experience has been follow up, and that's one of those things that people often overlook. Like a lot of times, people think that you're going to an event. That's the event. That's what's going to get you the business and so forth. It's not. If you think it is, you're missing the point. It's you're networking while you're there. You're getting the contacts, but you're following up on some specific need that they have. And so that's what I would say is super critical as well. So
Yeah, absolutely.
yeah. But the other thing is answering your phone. It sounds like the dumbest thing in the world, but just being willing to answer your phone and be available for people.
I need to get better at that. But it does really make a difference, because the times that I do, that's when you never get an opportunity if you don't answer your phone.
Exactly. And sometimes, like, I know people have different fears and anxieties. I very rarely do I feel that a lot. And so I never have that when people call, but I know there's people who, like, even my wife, I mean, there's times that she's like, I'd rather know what it is first before she answers the phone. So she'll purposely let it go mail or text. So she needs to know whether she's going to stress out about it or not, and kind of wants the heads up. And I get that as well, but you still got to follow up. You got to
follow up.
Yep.
Right. Dang. Yeah. So how big, like, so I guess it's a but is Alpine Cleaning just in Utah?
Just in Utah. We're independent contractors. Started over celebrating 35 years this year. Started out as a small company. I actually got started with them. I was going to school up at Utah State, taking a marketing class. Decided I wanted, as part of the class, to write a paper on 2 different restoration companies. And so I interviewed Judd at the time with ARS.
Yep.
And then I interviewed Chris Harris with Alpine. And after I finished interviewing Chris, he turned around and interviewed me and said, go home, talk it over with your wife, but I want you to come work for me. Tell me what you need for a salary. And that's 16 years ago now.
Wow. So did you end up finishing your degree?
Yeah.
Okay.
I did.
Cool.
Yeah. So it was entrepreneurship.
Yeah.
But still stuck with it. Raised a family while going to school and working full time. And so, yeah,
Man.
made it happen. Got 4 kids. Really excited. My oldest one's 18. He just got a mission call. He's serving in Boston, Massachusetts. Portuguese speaking.
Portuguese
and so
the Spanish with the rocks in his mouth.
Yeah.
Wait, hang on. Why is he going to Brazil? Just to train?
Yeah, they have a missionary training center down there for the language. But all my kids have been in the dual immersion.
Yeah.
And so since kindergarten, they've all done half-day Portuguese, the other half.
Oh, so he should be already almost fluent, right?
Yeah. So he's already got college credit.
So is he getting the 3-week or the 6-week?
It's a 4-week that he'll be down there. So he'll be down there for a month. I'm going to do it different now. So they bring in a month before, they have a person call them and kind of coach them through learning different language stuff beforehand.
Really?
Does a week of home missionary training center, and then goes to Brazil and then flies to Boston. So yeah, I love it. That's a big part of my life, that I even got to learn to network with people, talk to people. I served in Everett, Washington. My wife served
Everett, Washington.
I got Everett, Washington. Yeah. And then my wife served in Washington, D.C. And it turns out that we both met in the missionary training center. And so,
really?
Yeah. And so she was there was an odd number of the elders and sisters, and it was kind of a running joke, but the teachers didn't know it, but they'd rotate teachers. And as they came through, they kept pairing us together. And so we got to know each other a lot because we were talking constantly throughout the days. And so, yeah, came home from my mission, and my buddies from Iowa ran into her at a party, and she was there with her boyfriend, and they called me up and I said, hey, this weekend. And they're like, well, she was here with her boyfriend. And I'm like, I don't care.
Yeah.
So she did. She went with snowboarding with me that weekend and dumped her boyfriend the next weekend. We were engaged 2 months later. And
wow.
Yeah. So.
Nice, dude. Brothers got Riz. That's rad.
Fun.
That's awesome, dude. That's awesome. So I don't know if you know, my mom's family's from Boston.
Oh yeah, I didn't know that.
Yeah, so my mom's brothers own like in Boston.
That's
what does that tell you about my Italian mafia? Just kidding. Everybody's watching this. They do own the junkyards, but they're all legit.
That's awesome.
Yeah, they own that in Boston. Then they own one of my uncles. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm finding that as I bring it up that there's tons of connections to Boston that I didn't even know people had, and so
Dude, I'm kind of
I
jealous
love
of
hearing
food that
type
kid's
of
gonna
stuff.
be able to eat, dude. Tell him
Oh, yeah.
find little dive-looking Italian like delis and go order pizza.
Oh yeah,
It'll be the best food you've ever had.
it's a
in your
big
life.
melting pot, is what I'm hearing up in
Yeah.
that area.
Oh yeah,
So
big time.
he's excited for seafood. He loves
Yeah.
seafood.
Oh,
So
dude, the clam boils, man. There's some
Yeah.
cool places.
awesome.
Yeah, the Weather Main, those places have great food
That's awesome.
stuff.
Good
He's
old
gonna- he's gonna-
clam chowder.
Yeah.
Crab cakes, it's all good.
Yeah, that's awesome, dude. That's way cool. That's exciting.
Yeah.
It's exciting. There's some angry people there. He is definitely gonna have a little culture shock.
Yeah.
They are not happy, friendly Utahns there.
That's where some of the fun stuff comes in. He's like me
You-
personality wise. He's more of a dominant personality.
Okay.
And so there's times where we butt heads and I just have to be like, let him learn on his own. He'll be
Yeah.
fine.
Oh, he's
So,
gonna
yeah,
learn, man.
it'll be
There's-
good.
Have you heard of the expression "a masshole"?
No,
So
I
that's a
haven't.
real thing. I'm not going to go into detail on it, but he's going to learn about the masshole.
Oh, nice.
So, all the massholes in my family that hear this, I'm not talking about you.
Sure.
I know, right? No. Well, I mean, I get along with my family, but
The other thing, just thinking about different things that have helped me in my life, I would say the work-life balance.
Yeah, that's
That's pretty tough. I've been blessed with an awesome wife who understands we're 24/7 business. But the difference is that when you do have time, you have to take time and make the time. Otherwise it doesn't work out. But I mean, there's times where if I'm on call, she gets woken up in the middle of the night because I'm taking a phone call and getting somebody out to a fire or coordinating things. And yeah, so it's kind of tough, but
Yeah.
yeah,
yeah, I know.
she's good about it. So
So what's
Shout
the
out.
main part of your job that you take care of? So you take care of, like, if somebody calls in, you send out the crews and stuff?
yeah,
or-
main part is I used to market mainly exclusively to agents, insurance agents and adjusters. I've since have built that up pretty good and have built my team up. I've signed all my agents and adjusters out to them, and I've been focusing mainly on commercial properties, contracts as well. We're on the state cooperative contract for the state of Utah, so that's any state-owned buildings, schools, things like that. So that's helped out a lot. Day to day, though, it is a lot of events. I tend to go towards events more and do the networking through those, supporting different associations. If I keep a spreadsheet of all our events through the year, without the reoccurring ones, we're about 300 events, which is crazy because that means
Wow.
it's doubled up on days. And so I have my team going to different events, but just supporting and networking at different events. So yeah.
That's also takes probably its own coordination and
It's I couldn't do it without my team. Honestly, we go over calendar items every week, and there's times where we're like, people don't put out stuff either. And so then you think, and then you find out, oh great, they planned 4 activities. Like different associations decided, oh, we're doing a golf tournament day, we're doing a networking lunch this day, oh, fire chiefs are doing this day. And so you're just divide and conquer and make the best of it. Can't be everywhere at once, so you just do your best. But it's being at the forefront, that top of mind awareness. Yeah. So
it's the flexibility of being able to be, okay, I can't be everywhere at once, but I have people that I can make sure can be there to be.
exactly. Yep. To be there at those events, and they still represent well, and I think it's awesome. So
Okay. So yeah, I'm curious, like, more into kind of what you do. So you manage that, but you also take the calls. So does your team go out and network with different groups, and then when they contact your team, or
yeah, they can always call into the main office, but as you develop relationships with people, a lot of times they just call you direct. And so what I'll do then is coordinate, like with the commercial team. I had one today. A property manager reached out. They needed some barricades removed from a project that was done. Couldn't get the construction company back. And like, yeah, it's not generally what we do, but she already called us to do a board up the week before on a property that had, vagrants were trying to get in and cause damage to the property. And so our thing is be that resource, help them out when they need it. And they just keep calling you because they know they can rely and trust on you. So, yep.
Okay.
So I can attest to some of that. Like anytime I have anybody in my network that has an issue, so I do not refer to them to the hotline. I also don't have them call Bart, one of the senior project managers, employee,
Yeah.
which is the right kind of person to call. He's the one who's going to go out anyways.
Yep.
And so
Okay.
that's kind of what I've done with. That's obviously the relationship, right, that he talks about. And so, but yes, every time somebody's having an issue, and I'm like, no, you just call this guy direct. He's going to be the one that comes out anyway, so just call. That's why I always give out as Wayne.
Yeah. I try to let people know too that like, hey, if I'm not available, which doesn't very often, because I'll still at least reply back with the text, hey, I'm on the other line or I'm in a meeting, what's up type thing. But they can always call our office. It's 24/7. We always have somebody answering the phone. So we still take care of them. But yeah. Also, it puts a little pressure on you because you never know what phone call. I missed a phone call one time because I was in another meeting and our time was like, you have to be at the meeting, phone's off, computer's off, listen to me, pay attention to me. And it was like a $200,000 job. And I'm like, oh man, that sucks.
Yep.
Oh.
Sometimes the meetings, dude. Yeah.
I stepped out after a break and they're like, I had to call somebody else. And I'm like, oh man, I'm never going to let that happen again. So even my voicemail text says, hey, if this is an emergency, please call our office number. Cause I don't want to miss those. We want to still take care of them. So.
Well, you know, Joe, you had mentioned, I got to get better about answering all my calls. So one of the things that Bart does that I learned from Bart that I do all the time is I've created a bunch of pre-programmed responses. So like, right, you guys have got that. When you call me, I'm like, hey man, I'm in a crawl space right now. I can't get to my phone. Either shoot me a text or call my office. And I have a bunch of those. Like, I try to be accurate. I'm like, hey, I'm actually just in a meeting. I'll call you when I get. So again, you're just still communicating.
Yeah.
Right? So that works. Even if you're like, I don't know, watching a movie and you just don't want to deal with it. You just be like, hey man, I'm in a meeting. I'll be done in an hour and a half. Okay, cool. You don't need to tell me that you're in a movie. You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah, I'm on the phone a lot and I don't know what the weird phenomenon is. It's something out there exists that as soon as you hop on the phone, everybody else decides it's a good time to call or text you. And so that is one of my responses. Hey, I'm on the other line. I'll call you back as soon as I get off because it happens a ton. And I don't know why it does.
And just by sending that text, though, you didn't lose that business. He's like, okay, he knows he's not indisposed. He'll call me back as soon as he's done.
Yep.
So then the only problem is guys like Bart and I, then you end up with 37 of those and you miss half of them. And then like not half, but you know, that's a little exaggeration, but like sometimes, dude.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
I'm one of those people, like, it's interesting. Different people operate different ways. And that's what I'm learning with Dr. Taylor Hartman with the color code. Everybody has their strengths and their weaknesses. So you play to their strengths. People know me as well. I'm more of the red personality. I like to get things done, rocket launch style, going to make things happen. But as part of that, I'm a multitasker and that's good and bad. But a lot of times I want to take care of things right away. So if you ask me to do something, I'll like stop what I'm doing, make it happen, be done with it because I don't want to stress or worry about it anymore. I'll just get it done.
That's like a superpower. How would it be if we could do that? We've been joking with the whole ADHD thing. Do you see the piece of table behind Daniel with the clamp on it?
Yep.
Yeah.
It's been clamped for over a year. Like it's literally almost done. If I just take the clamp off and sand that bugger up a little bit and put some sealer on it, that's a done piece of furniture.
Yeah.
And like when I get to it, it's going to take me 20 minutes to finish it.
Like I said, there's weaknesses to everyone because even though that's a strength in some regards, my wife would also see a weakness because I can't stop what I'm doing. So if I start a project, it means I'm going to hit it hard until I finish it. And it doesn't matter what time it is or whatever. I'm just going to keep going.
And I get that way on occasion as well. But like, it's, you know, once that's what we all talk about is like with the ADHD is once you can hyper focus on something, dude, I won't eat, I won't sleep, I won't do anything but that until it's done. Awesome. And so like, and I used to be that when I first started building furniture, that's how I was, dude. I would get 4, 5, 6 tables, dining room tables and benches built in a week. You know, I just in there and just work. Yeah. And then, you know, after you build a couple hundred of those type of things, then after a while, you're just like,
dopamine's gone.
The dopamine is gone. Doesn't work anymore. I need to find something else. Which Bart knows. He has a lot of hobbies too. He gets it.
Yeah, I do. That's why I said mix the work with the play because then you still get to do those things. But it's...
Well, and that's actually, hang on, what you just said there, that's probably a critical element about what we're trying to do. Yeah. Because we teach people to change their life to something that makes you more happy. So many of us is like, because you're not out, you're just stopped having fun. And all it is the work thing. Like you have to do that. And like, if you're like in a spot like I'm at where I'm changing my profession, well, I'm incorporating fun.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Because like we're going to, you know, we're going to be building all kinds of weird hot rods and doing all kinds of crazy stuff just for fun. We've got a 30-acre abandoned gravel pit that
Yeah.
we've already got a motocross track built. We're going to have a big event race this year and like
Yeah.
market it and video content it. And it's going to be awesome, and it's like one of those things like, yeah, but can you make a living doing that? Be like, well, I don't know, but we're doing a vlog. So give me enough time and I'll either be broke and we'll quit doing the vlog or it's going to work.
Yeah.
Right.
So, speaking of which, give us a like and a follow. All you got to do is say your podcast sucks in the comments. Any comment helps, man. It doesn't have to be good. Bad
Right.
comments work just as good as good comments. So I don't care.
They tend to work better.
They actually tend to work
They do.
better. Yeah, I know, right?
People are more likely to put something down if they're upset about it or like
Right.
don't
Wait,
like it
wait till
than if
John
they
Bennett's
like it.
wait till John Bennett's podcast goes live.
Oh yeah, it's gonna be I can see it now.
Yeah, these two guys are like,
love
they're like, there's so many clips in this that are gonna go viral, and I'm just like, oh, dude. He's really into some different viewpoints that are
Gotcha.
popular in Cache Valley.
Gotcha.
It's cool. Like he's
Yeah.
a great dude. I love him to death. He's safe. He's a great guy, but
That's a tough job as well because I've been in politics as well and done that, and it's a thankless job. And I realize there's also things too that
you were a council member.
yeah. So I
I
did.
forgot all
You
about
were?
that.
Yeah, I did 6 years on planning and zoning, and then was on city council as well. And yeah, and I felt like I did my civic duty, and so even though I was asked to rerun, I'm like, I'm not gonna do it.
Oh, I didn't realize- yeah, that's
I
I'm
need
just.
a nap.
It's,
keep
I don't know. There's a lot of things in life, and you're always trying to decide. But I felt like I did need to give back to the community, and that was a way to give
Yeah.
back. But there's a lot of great things that can be accomplished, and there's also, I mean, I think a lot of times people think we live in a utopian society when it comes to that, but when you come down to the brass tacks of it, it's like, okay, you guys are saying we could build this cheaper, and we just ask for volunteers. And then you bring up a prime example of like, okay, we had the Comcast Day of Giving. How many of you guys showed up to that and actually helped out and brought your families? And then you look out over the crowd and nobody raises their hand. And it's like, that's what's real life is. Like you got to do what you got to do and make sure things
Macklemore's
last.
got a song about that, right? You guys know that song where he talks about, right, tweeting about justice, but don't show up to the march, like all those
Yeah.
kind of things,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, stuff like that.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
mean, people are well
I'm
intended.
all
I
about
think
feminism, but he still watches porno. He talks about,
Oh man.
right?
But I think people are well intended, but when it comes down to it, just the follow through. It's just,
Life, dude.
and people choose different priorities. I mean, a lot of people are like, well, I couldn't that day. My kid had a soccer game. I'm like, well, it's true. There's always things you got to weigh
Always
out, and you got to see what's worthwhile to
Risk
you or what you
reward or-
feel. Yep.
So were you working like was that after you were already working with
Yeah, I was fully employed still at Alpine. That's something I did. So you had the evenings. My job's always been great. It's been more of a give and take. They realize that there's going to be times that, you have to step away for other responsibilities, but they feel like it's going to come back. It's the giver's gain principle, B&I. But there was good things that came because I served in city council as well that helped out Alpine and connections. And
Sure.
yeah, even afterwards, people I got to know. I mean, we've helped out on different city
Absolutely. It's a
buildings,
whole
things like
different-
that. So
Yeah, but politics is not a bad. So it's a funny story. I actually tried getting on the planning and zoning here in my city.
Yeah.
And I think I would have been a great fit for it. I think and I still do. But the time so they were looking for a substitute, somebody who's
Okay.
planning and zoning, but just for when they need a sub member. You're not even full time. Right up my alley. That's perfect.
Yeah.
Well, the thing of it is there's this dude who I did his home inspection who moved here from, somewhere else, whatever, different state. And he was like a civil engineer, roads and all that kind of stuff for like 35 years. And then he was on 5 or 6 different planning and zonings over the course of like 25 years.
Oh,
and
dang.
so it was me against him. And I was like, and
That's
they were
tough.
and that's even everybody was like, this is the plan. I mean, dude, there's a realtor that her home inspector was on the city council, and they're all just like, Brian, like, we'd love to have you, but like, and I'm like, yeah, no, pick him. Don't pick me. Like, I would have picked him too, and like, so it was really funny. And now, so I got my range safety officer now, and so I've been hanging out at the Cache County shooting range, and he's an RSO there as well.
Oh, cool.
And so,
Yeah.
like I said, I walk by his house all the time, every day with my dog.
Yeah.
And so we're on the path to see you in the parking
Yeah.
lot having a business meeting. It was so funny. Bart told me he was going to be a little early. Block away.
I'm waiting for our executive meeting to start, but they were running late. I had already called in once.
Yeah.
They're like, say, we're still getting set up. I'm like, perfect. and can't stay focused too long and something. So I'm like hopped off and I'm like looking up fish. Like, what's the next river I want
You
to?
had a fire burning. You could have sat in here and had your business.
Yeah,
you
that's all
It would have
right.
still been fine. But yeah, no, that was just, it was kind of funny. Yeah. And I was like, yeah. I mean, I do this, like, if I'm early to something, I'm not just going to sit. I'll just go sit there and be ready.
Yep.
I hate being late.
Yeah.
It's so funny.
You came down and we're just hanging out in one of the parking lots.
Yeah, I stopped and picked up my taxes for this year, and so I'm down this way. No reason to drive back up to go back down, and so yeah, but yeah, yep, exactly.
The car meetings.
It's since COVID, I'm so much more on Zoom or Microsoft Teams or whatever. We use it a ton now. It's actually been good though. I find we're communicating more and getting things done.
Yep.
So
More that
do you
way.
guys prefer Microsoft Teams?
We use both. So it kind of just depends who's setting up the meeting and what they like. But either way, it doesn't really matter to me. I have accounts for both, use both. Yeah.
I've thought a lot about using Microsoft Teams more, but I always have to wind up teaching a lot in order to get it fully functional in whatever group I'm working with.
Gotcha.
So.
Yeah.
Try and avoid that Microsoft chokehold.
Yeah.
Microsoft gets you in, you can't get away.
But yeah, but that's the same thing with the dang iPhone.
Yeah,
Everybody in the stupid
that's
art
true.
studio, they're like, really, at this point in my life, the only reason I stick with an Android is just so every person with their whatever is like, hey, let me just I'm like, I have an Android. And they're like, ah!
Try to group text him and he's not even in on the real group text.
Yeah, I know that too, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's how I was for the longest time. I just had an Android for the spite of having an Android, and then they bought me they gave me an iPhone because they're like, we need you to talk to
He
me.
complained about everything, but the complaints were like not really complaints. They were like, oh,
Yeah.
this is nice to do this, but this little thing, like.
I don't like the UI.
Yeah.
Pros and cons to each. I always joked because I used to run Android as well. I'm like, because they have more of an open format, it's like people create different apps.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And then Apple, Microsoft, well, let's say Apple in general. Apple just lets them test it, do all the betas of it, and then they pick it up and say, yeah, we'll run it now. So
Yeah.
Actually know a coder, John.
Right, John Aaron.
John Aaron, and he was talking about he talked to us about how they build, like, everything is built so differently with Apple software, and like you basically have to rebuild the application.
Probably
It's
so.
cool.
make it more proprietary so that, it becomes theirs.
It's crazy because even like games, like that's one of the biggest markets out there, video games and mobile games. When it comes to a mobile game with Android, developer makes a game and they post it and it's free. With Windows, make it, post it free. Apple, you have to pay $100 a year to be certified, and then you have to pay another $200 in order to have it so that you can. Oh, I can't remember exactly what it is. I'll find it somewhere. But with all of that, it winds up being like 0.0004% of the money that they make from their game comes from Apple, but they wind up paying almost all of it into being able to host it on Apple.
Dang. Just a revamp. Yep.
Yeah, I don't know, man. It's so nice though. Like when you're trying to upload all this, but like airdrop it with the so amazing. Hang on, we fixed that though because we found that app that works the same way.
Local
Yeah.
send.
Local send. So now we can do the same thing. We can even do it with your computer, man. It's
Oh, yeah.
like you can literally upload 30 gigs in like 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Uses the Bluetooth connection instead of the network.
Oh, yeah.
So it's like super quick.
Nice.
Makes it really convenient.
For us, it's a huge deal. Like,
Yeah.
with
I bet.
uploading just this 360 alone is like 4 hours
Oh, yeah.
sometimes. It's like,
I love stuff, technology that comes out there, but sometimes like trying to figure out how to best use it and
Oh my
not have
gosh.
it like just, I don't know, AI, like
Yeah,
even in our
yeah.
industry, like different conventions I've been at and that what you can do with it, amazing. But then if you get lazy, like if people aren't reading this crap and seeing what it's throwing together, that's not you. Like,
Right. Well, so that's, I was actually going to point that out and I was going to talk to you guys about this afterwards. So I've been kind of working on designing all my logos and some really cool
Yeah.
artwork and stuff with AI. And every once in a while, it'll give me my logo and it's like gibberish. Like what the crap? I literally typed in, it needs to say this. And then it's like,
Yeah.
oh, okay.
Yeah. It basically only remembers the first. It's actually follows the serial. It's called the serial law or something like that. Basically, the first person you talk to and the last person you talk to are most often the ones that you remember the most, right?
Okay.
Yeah.
If you do a bunch of meetings
Yep.
in a row.
Yep.
With AI, the first thing you say to it and the last thing you say to it are the most potent things.
Interesting.
Everything else in the middle can be fluff, but
Interesting. Okay.
it's interesting because that's just how it processes.
Enough, it'll be past all that though.
Well, did you hear about Devin? Devin's the new GPT that came
Oh,
out.
I thought you were talking about Devin
okay.
Daniels, the roofer. I was like, I'm going through all these different. I'm like, who do I know? Devin McCabe, the insurance guy. Devin.
Digital world, Devin.
Yeah.
Is an AI that builds applications. It builds apps, and it basically it has your regular GPT where it says like and then
Yep.
it has that window. Well, that's one of the 4 windows that it has. So it has one there, and then it has one that's a coding window, and then one that's a terminal window, and then one that's a Google window. And then you tell it, hey, I want you to build this application.
Hey.
And then it searches Google on how to build the application, takes all of the coding, tweaks it to fit your case, and then outputs the code in order. And Apple bought it
Oh, dang.
like
That's
last
cool.
week.
Okay.
So then what are we going to be seeing here from Apple soon?
Who knows, man? Probably something cool.
Right?
I know I had so much fun. I've got some amazing logos. I can't wait to show to you guys. We just have to figure out how to change the what'd you call it? Hallucination.
Oh yeah.
We just have to figure out how to change the hallucinations.
A lot of times it's just rewording it or submitting the same thing, like, so it understands the context.
I liked the that Chat GPT because when I was writing the book thing, I could be like, "Hey, I really liked that, but let's change this," and then it would go, "Oh, okay." Boom.
Mm-hmm.
And so but you can't do that. I found
Oh, yeah.
you can't have continuing dialogue. It's one statement.
Well, Pilot does it for you. Does it with it. It's actually based off of ChatGPT
Pilot. I don't
0.5,
think that's
not
the one that I
4.
was using. I'll have to check. We'll
Yeah.
have to go through that after the show. It's a bunch of stuff that I'm trying to learn, man. Like,
It's good stuff to incorporate, though. Like, it's good to know about and how you
Yeah.
can utilize things in your business and be more.
They're there,
efficient.
dude. So when I was, I don't know if you know, I don't know if I told you, I'm writing a book.
Yeah, you told me.
I'm
Yeah.
writing the book on the whole Spice story and what happened and how I changed.
Yeah.
You know, there's been a couple of chapters that I've really struggled on, and I used Chat GPT, and it was. Now those chapters, you can tell I didn't write. You know, so hopefully, whenever my editor goes through and.
Yeah.
You know, and I've met. It's funny how things work. Like you were talking about how like doors just open. So here I am, kind of trying to get out of like home inspection and whatever a little bit, and I did this home inspection for a woman who literally that is her job. She is like the pre-editor editor. Like, right. So no, she's like, I work for all these different publishing companies. And she goes, basically, I take your book and fix it enough to where they're actually interested in it. So it's just kind of funny. Like the second one of those in a very short amount of time. It's just kind of weird how stuff like that happens.
Stuff like that does happen.
And then you're just like, well, shoot, I guess I better keep writing that stupid
Yeah.
thing. And like, by the way, just for everybody who has tried and it's hard, dude, writing a book sucks.
Mm-hmm.
It is.
I don't even know if
not-
I'd attempt it. That would
It
be
is
it.
not an easy thing. And like, you sit there typing and you're like, dude, nobody's going to read this. This is the dumbest thing in the world.
Yeah.
It's not. It's drugs and motorcycles and crime and cops. Like, it's interesting
Mm-hmm.
and it's true. So
I think if I could even do one, it would be like short stories and then just
Yeah.
conglomerate of all of the short stories. But yeah.
The way to do it.
Yep.
Building and packing.
You were talking about connecting though, and how things work out. Like even how I got started in the restoration industry.
Oh,
was
dude.
one of those.
it was.
So I was not that. So
Oh.
I got started out of high school back in Iowa. I'm originally from
okay.
Iowa,
Yeah.
and so I was
Moines or-
right out of born in Waterloo, raised outside of Dubuque, Iowa, in a
Okay.
little town called Rickardsville. Small. I think the population was 30 back then.
Mhm.
Broke off the highway at the bottom of the bluff. Joined back up at the
We
highway
talked
at
about
the
this kind of
top.
not
Have you
that
ever
far away
seen a
from Cedar
cornfield?
Rapids.
Yeah.
Not far from
Uh,
Cedar.
Cedar Rapids is south of Waterloo, Cedar Falls area. But coming out of high school, I was working with my sister as a server. My family's always been in the food industry. Grew up.
Sure.
My mom had a restaurant catering service, but I was working in the evenings. Wasn't working at my mom's business at Olive Garden. So I
Okay.
was a server there, and a gentleman came in. Him and his girlfriend got talking to him, and like 2 weeks later, they came in again, but they got seated in a different section that I wasn't a server over. But I just noticed him and went over and said, and he's like, "Hey." He's like, "I want you to swing by my business. Here's my card. Give me a call." He's like, I want to hire you. And I'm like, okay. And I'm like, so I gave him a call, and that next Monday went in, and he owned a Surf Pro, which
Okay,
does
yep.
disaster restoration as well, and hired me on to do his marketing. And that's how I got started in the
I didn't know
restoration
that.
world.
That's really
Yeah.
cool.
Huh.
Yep.
And so you weren't working for a restoration company when you came out here, though.
Came out
You're at
here.
Utah
I've done a
State.
lot of different things. I originally started at UVSC, and I was a snowboard instructor, worked at BYU kitchen, catering, took care of, worked at a reptile store, like, and just random
Right,
stuff,
right.
like
Huh.
whatever little job I could here and there while I was going to school. And then, I started to get into the trades when I got back after my mission more, back into the restoration world stuff. So I did general carpentry, finished carpentry,
Yeah.
cabinet installation,
those
all
skills
of
up.
that. Yep.
Yeah,
Yep.
you flipped a couple homes and stuff.
Yeah.
You're handy.
Yeah. Yep. So yeah, all
Savvy.
kinds of stuff,
Huh.
just random stuff.
Always
Yeah,
keep
that's
you on
sweet.
your
So
toes.
when you met him, like what encouraged him to get you in with the marketing? Was it just like,
Being able to talk to him.
okay,
Look him in the eye. Look at this
Yeah.
guy. Wouldn't you hire
Yeah.
him?
right?
Like when Alpine was getting bought out, I tried to get Poach Part too. I just couldn't. You had to make what I made, and I was like, I can't do that. That sucks. Sorry, dude.
It's all good.
Would have tried.
Yeah. I found that because when I mentioned that we went out snowboarding, we came back and watched a movie at my place, and I teased her because she was having a hard time looking me in the eye. But I'm one of those people, I make eye contact. And so I'm like, hey, I'm up here. Like I literally brought it out, pointed it out because she kept looking at me, but wasn't looking me in the eye. And she gives me a hard time. She's like, that's not why I wasn't looking you in the eye. I'm like, whatever. I'm like, I'm an eye contact person. And if I can't see your eyes, I don't feel like I'm connecting.
No,
so.
well, it's hard, and a lot of people.
Yeah.
It's kind of a thing.
Especially with the blue screen disease.
Yeah.
Oh,
Well, you know,
yeah.
it's hard for me. Like during my home inspection, is the people who keep me in the eye, and I'm trying to tell them about the connect and
Yeah.
speak to them, and they're like,
All over the
I'm
place.
just like, I'm gonna grab your head.
To me, it's a genuine thing, and I'm like,
Right.
I feel like I gotta look people in the eye. It's the same thing. Like I'm old school. I still do the handshake. I'll fist bump because if people don't want to transfer germs or whatever, I'll bump depending on what they want. But like
Oh,
I try to.
better way.
Yeah, I'm old school.
I
Shake.
prefer a
Yeah.
handshake.
Yep.
Prefer a handshake.
Well, you don't like the bump?
Docking.
Good stuff. Good stuff. So sounds like just having those basic skills though has brought you way further than anything else. Just being able to look people in the eye, being able to shake their hand, being able to communicate well with
Yeah.
them.
I think so. It started out fairly young. My parents got divorced. We moved to Texas, lived in Florida for a while. My mom met my stepdad. We teased. We called a very direct person. But it was, if you're going to speak up, be articulate type thing. And with that though, even in school, I wasn't the most outspoken. If anything, I'd say anxieties towards it, but I knew that was a weakness. So I got involved I did speech, I did debate, I did government, Model UN stuff. I did entered in anything that I could that built that. Same thing when I went into college
That's
classes,
brilliant.
took public speaking, stuff like that, in order to just be able to
Do it.
feel more confident in it, be able to stand up in front of a crowd and not have an issue.
You know, this
So,
day and age, with the way everything's going, I really wish I would learn more about government stuff back when I was young, that I had a better understanding, grasp on the debacle that is the American.
yeah, there's a lot going on in the world. So yeah. And we kind of live in our own little bubble. I mean, Utah's its own little bubble in itself, but then
Mhm.
you look at it, United States, its own little bubble in
Sure it
itself
is.
too.
It's
So,
not that little.
yep. Yeah. Yeah.
It's pretty big. You know, there's this dude I follow on the social media, and he said he's British, and he was like, he's been trying to tour the United States, and he's like, people always bag on Americans, they're not well traveled. Well, yeah, if you live in England, you can drive, he says, 45 minutes, and you're in Germany, right? I can drive for 5 hours and I'm still in Utah.
Yeah.
Right.
Hold on.
And I went from mountains and snow,
Yeah.
like literally, Brock, right? The
Yeah.
Brock Star was snow biking on Saturday, and then on Sunday we drove down to the desert, and then
Desert,
now we're
yeah.
in shorts and t-shirts sand duning.
That's what I'm hoping to do. I'm hoping my sled gets repaired so I can go snowmobiling before I
Yeah.
leave to catch this last storm. But then I'm headed down to Mesquite. Got an event with Farm Bureau down there. We're going and doing a side-by-side on the ride down, Tokerville Falls. And then while we're down there, then we're headed out to Arizona for another side-by-side ride.
Yeah.
And then I catch another convention for UFOMA,
Awesome.
it's facility managers. But I got my family down there with me
That's
this
great,
time. And so we're going to do a bunch of stuff.
So, you know,
while
we
we're
went down a couple months ago here, maybe 2 months ago down, and I did that Tokerville's Fall in a soon.
Oh, yeah.
It's a
Did
flat
you ride
road.
the creek well if the water was dumping that good?
No, I didn't have to ride the creek out.
Oh,
But
yeah, that's the fun way, though.
Is it really?
You got to try it, yeah.
down the waterfall, you can drive out in the creek?
Yeah, so you cross the waterfall,
Right.
come to the other side, and then you'll cut back and forth through the
Nobody
creek the
told
whole
me
way.
that.
And then you take a backside
We're going
that climbs
back.
up the rocks, and it drops you back at that main corner
Yeah.
when you came to the top. Yeah. Cuts a bunch of time off, but it's a little more rugged trail.
Yeah, I didn't know
My
that.
wife hates it, but we still do it.
Well, I could tell you that I absolutely tested out those new mutters. I had what's his name put them on.
Yeah.
What can I think of their name?
Which one?
Or the shop at BNI.
Oh, Steve's Automotive.
Steve's Automotive.
Yeah.
Holy
Yeah.
cow! Yes. Wow. Andy. Yes.
Yep,
Andy.
Andy.
Andy
Yep.
took care of me. He convinced me to try it that I'm used to. And that tire happened to win King of the Hammers this year, and
Oh,
I
nice.
had zero issues going up that slick, snotty road. Like
What is the tire?
it's the Toyo mud terrain.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. I love any of that stuff too. I've been in the Falcon Wild Peaks and I've loved those.
Have
as
ya?
well. Yeah.
I've always been a KM2 diehard fan, BFG KM2s, because like I took those things to Havasu and watching dudes shred every tire, and I ended up.
So if you're talking off road like that, side by sides, like there's some good ones out
Oh, yeah.
there. I'm still running the Pro Comp Gladiators.
yeah, those were I ran pro comps on Jeeps before. Those were a good tire.
But
Yeah.
you love the new ones, huh?
Dude,
Sweet.
I love them. They're quiet. Their road manners are awesome. For a mud tire, they're a lot more quiet than the BFGs. I think I've even on my Jeep.
Do you like the mud tire with the harder compound?
Only. Yeah, I have
Yeah.
to run a mud tire, dude. It's the kind of wheeling that I do.
Yeah.
I mean, I know my Jeep is stock, but it's like it's a Rubicon, and so I still go everywhere. And like
Yeah.
we're down there in Sand Hollow doing all the hard rock crawling trails that
Yeah.
dudes are doing it with their 40s, and I'll
Yeah.
still go through with my stock Jeep.
There you go.
I don't care. It's all about driving, man. I'm a driver.
Yeah. That's why people like give me a hard time about my Polaris Ranger
Yeah.
because I'm not running a Razor, but it's like a utility vehicle slash
Man.
the
And
family
you keep up
vehicle
fine with everybody.
slash, well, it's because we've modded it
Yeah.
out. So I mean,
Well, when we were down in that we just took the ATV Jeep Adventure tours from St.
Yeah.
George to the Grand Canyon, and we ended up with a Commander. Like everybody else is in G3s and turbos and stuff,
Yeah.
and like I had tires off the ground on the go around corners so fast,
Yeah.
it's like lift in and like the living shiz.
We had to
Trying to keep up with everything. That's what I was like. I'm like,
yeah,
dude.
they're all Bajaing through it all.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
you lose quite a bit of suspension travel going to the Commander compared to those Razors.
it's
Yeah.
okay. We can attest to that. But we had a windshield and it was fine. There was
Hey,
never
I was still hanging out the window.
Yeah,
so-
there was never a scary moment. I'm a driver, dude. Like I said, I tell everybody, you ain't gonna lose me. You might have a faster car, but
That's awesome.
let's remember, I drove a 10-second Mustang before I had a driver's license. He kept the tag from my drag race is still in the car.
Oh, really? That's cool.
Yep, it's kind of neat, man. I kind of had a lot of emotions in that. Went and
Yeah.
sat in it yesterday, and it was just like, oh.
Just sat there and started to cry.
No, I
Nice.
cried later. I came in here, closed all the windows, shut the
Yeah.
lights off,
Yeah.
started pressure washing something, so I was all wet. You can't tell. No, I just got water splashing in my face. I know how to do it. So, no, man,
Love
it's
it.
just been fun. It's been a neat ride, that kid of mine. So I guess I know. So we'll just talk about that for the podcast since I just mentioned. My son went. So my dad had this Mustang. It was his pride and joy. It's a Mustang 2. It's like the bastard year of Mustangs. Most people don't like to claim them. They say it looks like a Pinto on steroids. Probably does. But it's fast, dude. It's got a 350. It had a 302. It's got a 351 that is just built to the nuts. Like it's that little car. Everybody would pull up to it, and then you just go troll people.
But you modded it out. I mean, you built a hood scoop for it and everything
teardrop
else
hood
on
scoop,
your.
a lot of stuff on that thing. Like I was talking to my older brother last night, and he helped. I think I mentioned to you, we've stripped all of the drive accessories that bolt to the motor, like power steering and AC. That stuff's for sissies. There is none of that on this engine. It is literally
So
an
lightweight.
engine. Yeah, it's just the engine, electric fan. Like it is just an engine. And so like it's pretty cool, man. But we had a lot of fuck in the early 90s, and then life happens, and my dad sold that, and so he had a Corvette, he had another Mustang, and he just kind of sold it all off and sat down. He kind of, when he retired, that happens a lot of guys retire and they just sit down and stuff.
Yeah.
Sad.
That is sad. That's one of those things I always think about though. Like, what do I want to do in retired life? And I'm like, I still have to be doing something. But I always joke with my wife. I'm like, we're gonna be like camp hosts, and I'm gonna like take my fishing boat and be fishing every day.
Dream.
Something like I got to do something.
So just, and again, part of this, and we got to still figure out how to get that dude in Mexico on. So I did his home inspection up in Preston, Idaho.
Yeah.
And I pull up to do this home inspection, this beautiful, almost like a homestead house with the shop that has an apartment with it. And they got animals. They got this 5 acres, and it's just gorgeous, right? They obviously have a garden, and they have chicken, rabbits, and cows, and they had like 2 really cool Jeeps and a Porsche and a whatever, all these cars in the driveway and stuff. And so I show up to do the home inspection, and full house, I'll jump in cars, and they take off. Then they come back in one Subaru. He literally took all their cars and dropped them off at the dealership to sell.
Oh wow!
Like they sold everything.
Everything. Yeah.
They've got an RV, and they are camp hosts at a campground in Baja, Mexico.
Awesome.
Yes. He goes, we're homeschooling the kids. He's like, I can work remote. He goes, I stepped down from my leadership as a whatever.
Yeah.
But they're just like, he was just like life, and he's like, he's younger than I am, and he looks older, and that's what he's like. He's like, I just can't do this anymore. It's not worth it. Like, you're right, bro. Right. I'm like, you're an inspiration to us all. Now we'll talk to him in a year and see if he's still like loving living in full time. But hey,
I've heard mixed stuff. Even my neighbors, they do nomadic living. In fact, I think they have a whole blog on it. He retired. Him and his wife purchased an RV, and they purchased an RV, and they just go around and travel wherever they want to. That's the retired life.
I would love to do that.
Yeah.
Figure out some way that you could still like make money, or you could, I guess, to be financially independent enough to where you don't actually have to work. Dude, imagine being able to go places and be like, oh, we found this orphanage, we're gonna go help them build all new bunks, or something that's just
something
like,
to still give back, have purpose.
Right,
and
right.
meaning, and
Yeah, dude, something that's super meaningful. That's not, again, you're building bunks, like for a carpenter guy, like whatever, who cares? Like that would be it, dude.
Yeah.
Awesome.
One of my favorite YouTube channels, or 2 of my favorite ones, is the Nomadic Movement and Trenton Alley. And that's what they did. They like just built out a Sprinter in order to make it so they travel around. And they traveled from here in Utah all the way down to the very bottom of South America.
Oh, wow.
And then all the way back up. And it was and then COVID hit, and then they wound up having to fly back, and then they actually built a house in Provo Canyon. And like watching their lives and everything, it's very interesting to see. It's a totally different lifestyle.
Yeah.
But it is something that is always different. They're always meeting new people. They're always talking to new people. And
I have a bus.
No, I did not know you had
that. We're going to try to do some of that stuff. Well, I want to be able to sell flatbed on the back of it so I can get my Jeep.
Oh, there you go. Set that up. Yeah.
You got to be careful. Did you see the one that was down at LW's that broke in half? Yeah. So the bus is, and so these people chop the thing in half.
Oh, but didn't reinforce the frame.
And then it buckles the frame in the middle. So it was sitting over there. Feel bad for those people, but it is still kind of comical. I mean, if I knew them, I would have helped them fix it. They could have brought it over here. I got frame pieces. We could straighten that sucker out. I got a wrecked F350. 4x4, and I'm going to use that frame to straighten up the.
Oh, there you go.
So build my flatbed out of it.
Nice.
Hopefully, like I said, as soon as I sell that duplex, I'm going to build a shop in the pasture.
There you go. Awesome.
They just go to work.
Yeah.
So,
and then it's
super good stuff, man. Okay, well, awesome, dude. Bart, I am so grateful that you took the time out of your busy schedule to come and hang out with us. And we just kind of, whoa, Brian.
Wow.
You want me to show you how to turn that, mute that? You ever do that when you're speaking to people and their phone rings? You're like, hey, do you want me to show you how to turn that on silent? The funniest thing to do. I said it to
Try not to make them feel bad. So.
I said it to one of our guests one time, and like 10 minutes later, my phone rang, and it was just like,
That's karma, man.
That is karma. So always be nice to your guests.
Yep.
So, and you guys, I just want to do, I kind of